I want to talk about love and quite a number of things that are associated with that subject from the Word. And I want to start with Matthew chapter 5, verse 44, which tells us to love our enemies and to pray for those that persecute us, to bless those that curse you, to do good to those that hate you. Then I want to take a peek at John 14. John chapter 14 and verse 23, which in the Amplified reads, Yeshua answered, "If a person really loves me, he will keep my word. That is, he'll obey my teaching. And my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him, our abode, special dwelling place." The indwelling Holy Spirit, in effect, is the Father and the Son making their abode with you. Next, I want to look at Romans chapter 12. And verse 9, again I'm in the Amplified, it says, "Let your love be sincere, a real thing. Hate what is evil. Loathe all ungodliness. Turn in horror from wickedness, but hold fast to that which is good. Love one another with brotherly affection, as members of one family, giving precedence and showing honor to one another." Then Romans 12, over in verse 19, there's a powerful statement that says to all believers, "Never avenge yourselves, but leave the way open for Yahweh's wrath." Never avenge yourself, but leave the way open for Yahweh's wrath. Why? Because it's written, "Vengeance is mine, saith Yahweh. I will repay." But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him drink, for by so doing you'll heap burning coals upon his head. If you curse those who cause you trouble, you're only joining in on Satan's little skirmishes, joining in on Satan's warfare. Where on the other hand, if you pray for those and bless those that curse you or cause you trouble, now you're doing proper battle against the enemy who's really behind all of it. As the Word tells us, our battle is not against flesh and blood. The battles that we see in front of us with our eyes are not the battles that are going on, but rather there are battles going on in spiritual principalities. Satan making warfare. And, fooling most people, drawing them into to expand his warfare by getting them to take things personally, and also to react to the things that they see. Now, the really powerful scripture concerning love is in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. The whole chapter, which opens up by saying that, if I can speak in tongues of men or even of angels, but if I don't have love, meaning that reasoning, intentional, spiritual devotion, such as is inspired by Yahweh's love for us and by Yahweh's love in us, if I don't have that, I'm just a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal, just making a bunch of meaningless noise. Verse 2 says, and if I have prophetic powers, the gift of interpreting the divine will and purpose, and if I understand all the secret truths and mysteries, and if I possess all knowledge, and if I have sufficient faith so that I can move mountains, but have not Yahweh's love in me, I'm nothing, a useless nobody. Verse 3, even if I dole out all that I have to the poor in providing food, and if I surrender my body to be burned, or in order that I might glory, but if I have not Yahweh's love in me, I gain nothing. Now here's verse 4 begins the description of love. Love endures long and is patient and kind. Love never is envious or boils over with jealousy. It's not boastful or vainglorious. It does not display itself haughtily. It's not conceited. It's not arrogant or inflated with pride. It's not rude or lacking in manners. And it does not act unbecomingly. Love, that is Yahweh's love in us, does not insist on its own rights or its own way, because it is not self-seeking. It's not touchy. It's not fretful. It's not resentful. It keeps no accounts of the evil done to it. It pays no attention to a suffered wrong. And it does not rejoice at injustice or unrighteousness, but rather rejoices when right and truth prevail. Love bears up under anything and everything that comes its way. It's ever ready to believe the best about every person. Its hopes are fadeless under all circumstances, and it endures everything without weakening. I like that part that says, love is ever ready to believe the best in every person. Somebody does something that rubs you the wrong way, usually the first impression is like, boy, they've got a lot of nerve. It's a wonderful thing in a moment like that to believe the best about that person. Oh, maybe they didn't understand something, or maybe they didn't mean it that way. To believe the best, especially in somebody that you say you love. Verse 8, love never fails. It never fades out. It never becomes obsolete. It never comes to an end. Anything you called love that comes to an end wasn't love. As for prophecy, which means the gift of interpreting the divine will and purpose of Yahweh. As for prophecy, it will be fulfilled and it will pass away. As for tongues, they'll be destroyed and they will cease. all tongues, English, French, Italian, angelic tongues. As for knowledge, that will pass away. It will lose its value and become superseded by truth. Knowledge. You know how to take a car's engine apart and put it back together? In eternity, that just, you know how to do brain surgery? Meaningless in eternity. Verse 9, for our knowledge is fragmentary. It's incomplete and it's imperfect. That's pretty obvious in the world. And our prophecy, our teaching, is fragmentary. It's incomplete. It's imperfect. But when the complete and perfect total comes, the incomplete and imperfect will vanish away. It will become antiquated, void, superseded. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. When I was a child, verse 11, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. Now that I've become a man, I'm done away with childish ways, and I've put them aside. For now, we are looking in a mirror that gives only a dim or a blurred reflection of reality, like in a riddle or in an enigma. But then, when perfection comes, we shall see in reality, and we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, imperfectly. But then I shall know and understand fully and clearly, even in the same manner as I have been fully and clearly known and understood by Yahweh. And so, we have faith, hope, and love. Faith being conviction and belief respecting man's relation to Yahweh and divine things. Hope being joyful and confident expectations of eternal salvation. Love being true affection for Yahweh and man. Growing out of Yahweh's love for us and growing out of Yahweh's love in us. His love. These three, faith, hope, and love, abide. But the greatest is love. Now I wanted to back up verse 10 in chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians. It says, but when the complete and perfect total comes, the incomplete and imperfect will vanish away. It'll become antiquated, void, superseded. And that's pointing back at verses 8 and 9. Prophecy, going to be done away with. It'll be fulfilled and it'll pass away. Tongues will be destroyed and they will cease. Knowledge will lose its value and become superseded because all these things are imperfect. But when that which is perfect comes, these things will be done away with. Has knowledge passed away? Certainly not. We're learning new things every day. So we know that that which is perfect has not yet come. There are people out there on this planet who say that when the Bible was completed, that meant that which is perfect has come. And so we no longer have tongues or prophecy. And I always say, the Bible is not complete. So you can't say that. And it certainly isn't perfect. I mean, the English translations of the original languages are all a mess. But I always point at Revelation chapter 10, verse 4. There's a very interesting passage here. And it says, and in the NIV it says, and when the seven thunders spoke, I was about to write. This is John talking. But I heard a voice from heaven say, seal up the seven thunders, what they've said, and don't write it down. So, John obeyed, of course. But my point is, the Bible's not complete. The seven thunders spoke. And John was told not to write it down. Well, at some point, it will be written down and this book will be complete. But right now it's not complete because what the seven thunders spoke is missing. It's happened, but it's not been written down. So, and to say that the Bible is that which is perfect, I mean, that's really a stretch of the imagination. And that was an argument that was created in 1906. Whatever. Prior to that, it was understood to refer to the second coming. And that's, I've always thought that, the second coming would be that which is perfect coming. However, when I consider Acts chapter 2, verse 17, it says, in the last days, and this is referring to the millennial period on earth. I've been thinking about doing a study on the book of Revelation, which would take quite some time if I do it here on YouTube. It'd be quite a number of teachings, but I think worthwhile, and I've been considering it. If you want me to do that, let me know. Encourage me. But Acts chapter 2, verse 17 is talking about the millennial period. This is after the second coming. And it's a 1,000-year period before the great white throne judgment and the new heaven and new earth is put in place. It says, Yahweh says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. He's quoting from Joel chapter 2, verses 28 through 32, saying, your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, old men will dream dreams, etc. But it's talking about people prophesying. So, we just see here in 1 Corinthians that prophecy will be done away with when that which is perfect comes. And we see that prophecy is still happening during the millennial period. So, perhaps when that which is perfect comes, may be referring to the new heaven and the new earth. Like I said, I always thought, and I still feel in many ways, that means the second coming, but prophecy is still happening after the second coming during the millennium. So it might be wiser to say that when that which is perfect comes, is referring to the new heaven and the new earth. And once again, faith, hope, and love abide. But the greatest of these is love. There is one other thing. It's to take 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4, 5, 6, and 7. It says, love is patient, love is kind. Read that, but replace the word love with Yeshua. Yeshua is patient. Yeshua is kind. He does not envy. He doesn't boast. He's not proud. He's not rude. He's not self-seeking. He's not easily angered. Yeshua keeps no record of wrongs. He does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Yeshua always protects, he always trusts, he always hopes, and he always perseveres. Then, and do that slowly with meditation. Then do it again, only this time, replace the word love with your own name. Slowly, with thought, and watch what happens. So, we have faith, hope, and love. These three abide, but the greatest of these is love. Shalom.